Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nichol.
Thank you so much for dropping in today. This is series 13, where I am getting in the heads of high performance sports athletes and finding out about their injuries, how they've overcome their injuries, and a lot about what they do for wellness after that and their mental health. So join me on this journey, 10 episode series, Get Educated, on how you can help your body and mind. I know I've been learning a lot through this series. This is, what day are we today? We are March 25th, Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Let me introduce the guest that we will be dropping in with today. This mountain girl was a professional snowboarder for over a decade and was on the Canadian National Snowboard Team for 9 years, earning a national championship title, X Games bronze medal, and competed in 70 plus World Cups, securing 4 World Cup podiums. Beyond competition, she's dedicated another decade to coaching, leading at club and provincial levels, coaching Team BC at the 2011 Canadian Winter Games, and then coaching the Canadian Paralympic Snowboard Team at Sochi 2014 Paralympic Games. Now she shares her experience alongside her education to help guide athletes as a game plan advisor with Team Canada. This friend, snowboarder, coach, advisor, surfer has a lifelong passion for standing sideways. I'm happy to drop in with the one and only Candice Drouin. Hello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mercedes.
I mean, you've done a lot. I like it when I get all the accolades together. It's like, boom, you've done all this and you're doing more.
Yeah, it is interesting to see it all together, to hear someone else say it. It's like, oh, I'm really old.
No, you're not old. No.
Well, wise.
Are you ready to drop in with the 10 rapid fire questions you've not seen before so the listeners and viewers get to know you a little bit more?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. Number 1, where in the world are you today?
I am in Souk, BC, just outside of Souk, which is on Vancouver Island, just outside of Victoria. A little cabin on the beach.
I appreciate you explaining where it is, because I have a friend having a wedding, which I talked to you about earlier there. And I was like, I don't actually know where Souk is, but I'm going to find it on the map. Very, very cool area in British Columbia, Canada. Mm-hmm. Number 2, which snowboarder inspired you most during your career? Is that even a thing? Did anyone inspire you?
Oof, so many people inspired me. I mean, you even inspired me.
Oh.
So, I mean, a younger Mercedes just was also very inspiring. You being a little younger than I am, but I think really creatively, Tej Hawkinson was always a huge inspiration. Mm-hmm. Just the way he approached the sport and his creativity. And a name that many probably don't know, Lena Osterberg, was a snowboard cross athlete who she passed away. But she was always really inspiring when we showed up on new tracks, and she just would be willing to send it, and I'd follow behind and hopefully not crash.
Very cool. I guess I didn't explain that in your bio, that you did a lot of snowboard cross.
I did a
but
lot.
You were freestyle in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Okay, let's get into surfing a little bit here. Number 3, do you have a favorite surf spot that you visited?
I have not actually traveled a ton to surf at this point. It's more of a newer hobby or newer passion, but just up the road, maybe one of the reasons why I moved here is Jordan River, which is, pretty well known as being a hard kind of but there's a wave right before Jordan River that I really like. Yeah, I'm probably not going to say what it's called.
I think that's smart. I mean, thanks. I appreciate that. Keeping things real.
I do I like the South Islands kind of. Besides the cold water, it's pretty fun down here.
Yeah, besides the cold water. Number 4, if you could master any new skill instantly, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy. Singing. I'd like to master. Yeah.
Can you sing at all?
Well, I got a singing coach and I've joined a choir. So
Really?
yeah, Mercedes, I figured I couldn't hurt myself. Besides maybe bruising my ego, but I figured what can I do that I can't hurt myself in my
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. Perfect timing for this series.
I thought so, yeah.
Number 5, what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
It changes. It changes for sure. And I don't I really try to be in the moment rather than prescriptive. So I do set aside time to, ensure that I do unwind or before I pivot. If I do teach a lot in the evening, so I often have like a really short window to kind of relax from the day, but it really changes. I'm right on the ocean right now, so I do cold plunge or just have like, yeah. So that is it's kind of the opposite of unwinding, but it's almost like a reset. Yeah. And I like crafting.
Like what kind of crafts?
I kind of make different, I paint a little bit, not as much as you do, but I paint a little bit. And so I've kind of got into like making little things, sewing and yeah, a little kind of just fun little things. I'm making little surf wax bags these days.
That's so cool.
Your sunscreen.
Epic. Okay. Yeah. Number 6, what's one thing you never leave home without?
Lip gloss.
Yes. Lip gloss. Okay, cool. If you could swap lives with any athlete for a day, who would it be? I mean, you talk to a lot of athletes. We haven't even talked about game plan. We will talk about that. But like, if you could swap lives with any athlete for a day, who would it be?
I don't know if it's because she's front of mind right now, but Lindsey Vonn.
Super awesome tale that's going on right now with her.
So cool. Yeah. Maybe we'll go into it, but she's kind of inspiring me right now
I mean, she should be inspiring everyone. Like, what a comeback. People saying, no, you can't make it. Like, you're too old. And that does happen a lot in sport. Like, you're done, you're out. And she's just breaking down those barriers. I love it.
Yeah, she's very cool. She's not agreeing with the shelf life that she was supposed to have. So it's great.
Yeah. It's wicked. And number 8, if you had to describe yourself in 3 words, what would those words be? That's a hard question.
That is a hard question. You could have maybe that could be like something you send your guests.
No, rapid fire, real quick.
I think determined would definitely be. I feel like I'm pretty determined. Like joyous or fun or just like light. I feel like I'm that's. And then. It sounds cheesy, but relational or like really like dedicated to my friend. I don't know. It's not a word, but yeah.
That's awesome. No, that does sum you up. I like that.
Something like that.
I like that. That's good. Okay, now an easy one.
Thank you.
What is your favorite snack?
If I have to make it, it's different than if I'm going to go and get it. I love to snack on sushi. Like I love just picking up like a roll or two here and there for snacks. My sushi skills at home are not so good. But at home, it is a process. It's like a dinner party process or something. Yeah. But at home, I snack. I snack on apples. I love apples.
Oh, fruit. Interesting. Okay, I like that. You're so healthy. Okay. Last one. What is one piece of advice you'd give your younger self as an athlete? Which is hard because you give advice to athletes like every day as your job. But for you, what would you give yourself advice?
I know it's a rapid fire, but it's interesting because I often think that if I had listened to my dad's advice, which is to pick something and do it, I would not have been as well-rounded athlete as I was, or I wouldn't have had as many, I guess, experiences going from like I did every discipline at one point, but I
Mhm.
often wonder, like, what if I had stuck with half pipe? Maybe I would have been at the games with you, but no, I had
Right.
to move to another discipline. And like, so,
You
um,
like going really, really fast, though. I feel like snowboard cross was, like, your
it's,
jam.
yeah, by the time I think I got to, I agree for sure. But my dad used to always say this to me and my friends is
Yeah.
pick something and do it. And I think sometimes I wonder, and for myself, if I had stuck with something longer, I would have maybe
Right.
gotten a lot. But I do think my advice to my younger self would be that, and even my advice to others is like, if you're flip-flopping on things, like just dedicate to something and see it through, and then before you make a decision that you're,
Right.
I don't know, not
No,
sure.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's, like, super, interesting. There's so many things to choose from nowadays that it is. But I would say, "Oh, I wish I also did more backcountry." So,
There you go.
their
Right.
grass is always greener.
Yeah.
Okay, we made it through the rapid fire, Candice. Thank you so much for dropping in on that. I know people get like really nervous about it because I don't share that. I share the whole show flow, but I don't share the rapid fire so
Mhm.
that they're like fun questions, but some of them are definitely challenging.
I like
Um,
it.
let's thanks. Let's get into your injuries that you had in snowboarding. I mean, it's an extreme sport. A lot of us have had so many injuries. Do you wanna go through, like, head to toe what happened to you?
Well, I don't think this is a 2-hour long format podcast, so I I think I'll refrain. But I think that I can share my first injury, which
Mhm.
was my first major injury. Was at 16, and I had just kind of moved from ski racing to snowboarding, and it was really early on when we weren't wearing helmets for big air. I know, Wild West.
Yeah.
And I was at Sunshine, and I overshot the landing of this jump that was, not necessarily built properly.
Mhm.
I broke my arm, which was, I got a plate in my arm, but the big thing is I knocked myself out, and had a my first major concussion. And I think
Okay.
concussions, which we share, is a lot of my story and my healing. But yeah, and I fractured both my heels at X Games one year.
Oh!
I know I've broken my pelvis. I've blown out all ligaments in my knee. I've had ankle injuries, dislocated elbow, shoulder. Like, yeah.
Is this all so that was big air, and then was this snowboard cross that a lot of the other injuries came from?
Yeah, some of them, I think, yeah, like the heels were snowboard cross. The pelvis was actually backcountry.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so kind of in and around competition, but yeah, on snow. For most of them, I had a couple concussions playing rugby as well, but
Okay.
um, yeah, I definitely, yeah, had
Let's
a
let can you actually explain snowboard cross for people that might not, know
yeah.
it? Because it is a little different in X Games, isn't it? 6 people? Wasn't it 6
Yes,
people?
and X
Yeah.
Games has taken snowboard cross out recently. I guess not
Mhm.
that recently, but yeah, in the beginning, snowboard cross was 6 people across, and then when the FIS took over to go to the Olympics, they narrowed it to 4, and then yeah, X Games kind of kept this six across format. So I don't know if you know motocross; it's similar to a motocross kind of style, or BMX, where they're a mass start. I don't know. The BMX starts look crazy, and even motocross, like there's like 12 of them across or something crazy. But yeah, so it's turns and jumps, and like I think over the years there's been a lot of creativity and a lot of evolution. Like the sport's really quite changed since I was racing, but
Mhm.
it's fast. It's all about the first person at the bottom wins, and often you're get tangled up with other competitors, which can be kind of the excitement of that kind of jostling for position.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's not judged. It's just pure time, and the competition starts with a time trial, and then we'll move into heats. So your time determines kind of where you're get to pick your pole position, and then you jump in the gates, and they drop the gates all at once, and first person to the bottom wins.
It's very exciting, but I mean, look at Marielle, one of our top ski crossers. She's just at home right now with injury. So like, it comes with its battles. And I want to talk about, okay, so that first injury, broken arm, concussion, that was big air. You were 16. That was probably a really challenging time. Did you know you were concussed? Like, was that even like a thought at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I was knocked out, so I think that
Okay.
that one was pretty
Red flag.
yeah,
How
it was
cold?
pretty yeah. I would say it was definitely kind of I feel like it almost felt, I was thinking about this question before, it's almost felt par for the course. Like it just seemed
Right.
like injuries are part of this sport, and I think going into it, you're aware because you see it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it felt like you have to be able you make the decision to do a sport like snowboarding. I know
Yeah.
all disciplines, and there's injuries that are going to come along, and regardless if you're
I
16
like
and
the way you put that though, like, because I was gonna be like, "Well, what motivated you to get back up and do it again?" And, like, I feel that we might be aligned there. It's like, "Well, that's a no-brainer. I'm getting back up." Like, it's just
yeah,
part of the sport.
yeah, exactly. So like I never thought of it as an option. It was just like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not, and I think probably similar to, you and I have snowboarded a lot of days on the hill together, and a lot of opening days, and I think there's like, it's part of who we are. So
Mhm.
maybe, and at that time, when I was younger, competing was just part of what I did. So I always just saw it like, this is what I love. I'm gonna just recover from this injury so that I can do this sport that I love. Like even now, I'm like, I will do anything I can and make sure I can get on snow.
Totally. That's so interesting, and, like, it's this deep down, like, love of sport. So, do you think it being, like, your first major injury, do you think that that kind of opened your eyes to being like, um for me, it's like a stubbornness, like, "No, I will, and I am going to get back out there." Like, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but, like, was that a transition of understanding what was important?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I ski raced up until 16, and 15, I 15, 16, that summer, I tried snowboarding
Mhm,
because of an injury in ski
mhm.
racing. I had a really bad crash in the downhill, and my coach kind of took me out of competition, which left me a whole lot of free time, which led to trying snowboarding. So I think like I had dealt with, crashes. I like to call them like crashes versus an injury,
Mhm.
in the sport of ski racing and in downhill. And like the crashes are quite, like, they're scary, right? You're going really
Mhm.
fast and you're sliding with these suits. And so I think because I had ski raced and was always falling, and in the sport of, I think it just seemed like the norm. It was normalized
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
that this was part of what it was. And it was really about making sure we came back healthy. And I think I learned that at a very young age, that, I don't feel like I really rushed through any of my recoveries. I had would always make sure I had a good team, and made sure I was coming back strong, but
Okay,
maybe my
what?
memory fails me.
Wait, what? I feel like we are on different paths here. Okay, keep going. Like, who did you have in your corner that was helping you so much?
Yeah, I mean, back then I grew up in Banff, so my team was, the Banff Physio Clinic, and even people like Dr. Hurd, who are still practicing, and the 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 reality was that, like, it was a process, right? You had a team behind you, doctors helping you make the decisions, physios and trainers. Like I actually would travel into Calgary and work with Matt Jordan, that CSI then with CSI Calgary. I was quite lucky to have a team. I
Yeah.
have someone at my door.
Oh,
I know that
go
is
get it.
so,
Go get it.
that is so awkward.
That's okay.
But someone's come to take some logs out of my yard. So I'll be 2
Okay.
seconds.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay, no problem.
Hello, I'm
It's all
back.
good. It's all good. All good. So good. So you had physios and you had everything on lockdown. Like, how did you source those through Canadian Sport Institute?
Yeah, I think I again, like it was so early days. I don't even know if it was called, I think it was called the Institute back then. I don't even know, but I feel like, that coming from ski racing and I had that background of a really traditional sport where, yeah, like,
Interesting.
yeah, very, I think that was made actually the biggest difference in kind
You
of,
knew what was available.
I knew it was available. I know, like I knew that training was really important. I knew that, like, back in those days, there weren't any other snowboarders really pushing themselves physically in the gym or things like that. Like maybe in like little pockets, but no one was training together. And I got lumped in with the ski racers because, I could either train alone.
Mhm.
And Scott Ma, who's also still at the Institute, he was kind of there to kind of help me when I was coming home from injuries.
Yeah.
But I really just kind of in the summers in Calgary worked with the ski team, and I think getting strong was I saw that as really important because we were hitting really big jumps and the
No
landings were
doubt. Look at you
not
ahead of
always.
your time. We can actually talk about that because, like, in the professional snowboard industry, it was like such a core industry at that time that, like, being in the gym was like, you're stupid. Don't do that. But then you
Yeah,
had like professional snowboarders that were like secretly going to the gym but not
yeah,
telling anyone. And so you're
totally.
like, oh, you're just trying to be cool, but you're actually also like doing the right things.
Yeah, there's like this kind of counterculture, kind of like, we're
It's so
just.
funny.
Yeah, it was funny. And I mean, it took a long time, and I've seen the evolution as an athlete and a coach. And then even now we go into the gym in Whistler, and there's a bunch of, like, the snowboard team is dedicated, and they're, maybe they train
Yeah.
a little bit differently than you see a different type of athlete train. But
Yeah.
it's now, yeah, it's like, it's doesn't make any sense not to train because you can keep, on the injury recovery and wellness theme, like it keeps you out of injury if your
Totally.
body is strong and you are, you actually can recover quicker. So I think
Yeah.
it just took a bit for snowboarders to catch up with it, because at the beginning it wasn't cool, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I never really tried to fall into the cool category. I was like,
Totally fair.
I just want to do this sport better. And
I
yeah,
rebelled. I rebelled hard. I was like, "You
I,
need to
I,
help.
re-
I don't
I remember.
understand." It was not a pretty time, and I was young.
Yeah,
And now I go to the gym all the time, so
yeah,
here we
I do
are.
remember those days of young Mercedes rebelling.
I did, I did, it was bad. Okay, let's talk about, the mental health aspect of everything. I
Mhm.
love your story, and I don't I never really knew that. I knew you were a ski racer, but, like, knowing the system and knowing, how to use it for your benefit for recovery, I think it's absolutely brilliant. And now
Mhm.
we do see athletes and we can touch about, game plan a little bit if you wanna explain your role now because pretty much that sounds like a seamless kind of way to use what you've learned, what we've just learned about you to help the next generation of athletes.
Mm. Yeah, I feel very grateful, and it's interesting. I didn't have a game plan advisor in the how it sits today, but
Yeah.
I'd love to give a shout out to Karen Strong, who at CSI, it's CSI Calgary. It is CSI Alberta now, but Canadian Sport Institute. Um, and she really helped guide me to make even decisions on even little things. Like I remember trying to decide if I should go to a certain competition, because our coaches back then were kind of, not as
Fresh. They were fresh.
I love that word. They were fresh. They were fluid. We wouldn't always have one,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't always necessarily be who we would go to for advice in terms of like they weren't annual training plans and things like that. So I
Yeah.
leaned a lot on the people that you're talking about, like
Mhm.
the physios and the trainers I work with. But I remember just, having some guidance from this woman in Calgary that kind of helped me to take care of myself. And some of that meant actually taking some courses and learning some other things, and even just understanding myself by doing some kind of exploration in what I might want to do outside of snowboarding, even alongside. And it's kind of led me to this role as a game plan advisor, which honestly, like, I remember when the program started after, around 2016, I thought, oh, what a cool job.
Mm-hmm.
What a cool role. I just never, I don't know. Maybe it's just, honestly, it seems kind of silly even now that I'm in it. It's like, it is a perfect role for me.
Yeah.
I have the experience. I've also seen a lot of athletes go through a lot as a coach, and I'm a coach developer as well. So I talk to a lot of other coaches, and just the game plan, just to kind of, I guess, explain that to your viewers. It's a Canadian Olympic Committee, Canadian Paralympic Committee funded program. So kind of government funded through the institutes to support athletes in their well-being. So well-being meaning mental health and career development, even community, how athletes can support each other and be in community with events. And yeah, we all have different skill sets across the country, but we all kind of have that same mentality where we're here to meet the athlete where they are, and wherever that might be. It's really about, then I almost feel like it's like a bit of a quarterback sometimes. I'm going to find the right people to help you in the direction that you need, if it's career planning or, finding someone to talk to if you're coming back from an injury, or if you're just struggling with something in life. We have a whole network.
It's very, very cool. It is. It should not be downplayed. Everyone should know about it in Canada, and other countries should be super jealous.
Yeah, we do. We are pretty good across the world. We're one of the leaders in the space, for sure. The Commonwealth countries. Yeah.
It's so great. I want to get back to you with, I loved all the work that you're doing, and so grateful. And BC is so lucky to have you for helping their athletes out. What's your personal wellness practice now? I mean, and then also I want to dive into, like, back when you were an athlete, what was your wellness protocol then? Let's start with that. Like, back then, what was your practice?
For sure. And I would say it was less structured, and it was more kind of, I was thinking about this. You obviously prompted these questions, but I was young. I think we were in our 20s. I was really always more focused on the physical recovery. I was less focused on, I didn't really think as much of, like, my mental health. Like, I don't even know when we started saying mental health. Like, it wasn't that long ago.
No.
We would often say, like, oh, my sanity, or, I'm going a little, using kind of wording that is not appropriate. But I definitely, I think my people, like, having really good friendships and really good support, teammates, like people I was traveling with and competing with, but also, like, coming home, being in the mountains. The mountains were my healer. I did a lot of backcountry. I spent a lot of time in some, small little places and little towns which we won't name, but you probably know exactly where I'm talking about. Where we gathered and celebrated life, and celebrated just the beauty of the mountains together. And, just being in those remote areas were really kind of, again, I wouldn't have ever said, like, oh, I'm just going to run away and work on my mental health. But
you felt more a sense of, it's a community. But I think that's also, like, what our snowboarding world is like a community of like-minded people, and that's where we all relate and share stories, and that's where we take care of our mental health.
Totally. Yeah.
We were
doing it, but we weren't necessarily
we didn't know.
naming it. We weren't necessarily naming it. We were just Yeah.
Totally. I
Shredding.
think that's
Yeah.
really beautiful, really beautiful.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's talk about now that you know about mental health, and wellness and all that. Is there anything other than singing,
Mm.
and sewing and painting that you do?
Yeah, and I think I kind of touched on it. Like my practice changes. So depending on the day, depending on how I'm feeling, but I do believe that consistency is really important. So I always dedicate the time, and then
Yeah.
let the process be more freestyle. So if I'm feeling like I want to sing, or if I'm feeling like I want to just go walk on the beach, or if I want to actually get in the ocean, and I'm very blessed. I guess I did create this little heaven for
Yes.
myself, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily. I find if I get stuck in this, like, even training, like if I wake up and I dedicate a certain amount of time, but if I'm not feeling what I had planned, I
Yeah.
pivot and I'll do something that feels right in my body. And I'm not trying to. I don't have to necessarily stick to anything, because
Mhm.
my goals are a lot less kind of pointy, right?
Yeah.
I just want to be well, and I want to be happy and contribute to the world in a
Mhm.
good way. I'm not trying to, be the fastest or the best in anything. So I can be more fluid. And,
Right.
if I don't feel like going to lift weights, or, I train at home as well, I might just dance, or,
Yeah.
I may, do something different. But movement is really part of my wellness practice, and community.
Mhm.
I've only been out here on the sea for a few years, but I've met some beautiful people.
I believe
Salty,
it.
but beautiful.
Well,
um,
when you talk about consistency and the time that you put aside, I want to dive a little deeper into that just because I
yeah,
wanna know. Like, is this a specific time of the day, or is that also fluid for you?
yeah. So that is. I used to try and do the same time of day every day, and
Okay.
I try and start my day as to be consistent.
Oh, how do you do that? Tell me. I need it.
Yeah,
I wanna
and
know.
yeah. So honestly, Mercedes, I don't know if where you and your relationship is with sleep, or
Oh,
where
very important, very
yeah.
important.
But like I think that if you are one that struggles to fall asleep, stay asleep, or get enough sleep, then I think allowing some flexibility in the morning. Like even last night, I was kind of excited. I couldn't sleep. I was gonna be dropping in with you. So
Yes, I
I
love
I
it.
actually I pushed my alarm back, because I intentionally slept another hour because I wasn't falling asleep. So
Got
that
it.
hour that I typically wake up at 5:55.
Oh
Um,
my god. Okay, keep going.
I know.
Woo, woo, woo.
Very different. I used to go to bed at 5:55, but yeah. um,
5:55 AM, okay.
yeah, but if I'm up late, I don't compromise my sleep. So
Yeah.
I make,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
I'll pivot sometimes there.
yeah.
So consistency, if things are aligned, I'm sleeping well, things, I move, if it's all circular, right? Or
Uh-huh.
like it's all like a flow, right? If
Yeah,
you move your body and have fatigue, if you're tired, if it's
mhm,
mental, physical, then you sleep well. You
yeah,
get to sleep, you can get to sleep early, and you set
yeah.
yourself up for success for the next day. But it can it can also really drain you if you and if you're someone that's hard on yourself, and I think a lot of us are, and you
Mhm,
don't like you stay up scrolling all night, or you stay up
mm,
whatever you're doing that's not serving you, we can beat ourselves up, and
totally.
that I think really just kind of perpetuates the problem. So I think just giving yourself that flexibility to be like, no, I'm going to take this extra hour, but I'm going to find that hour back somewhere in my day. And
Mhm,
if
mhm.
it's if that morning session that you kind of habitually try and do to move your body moves into later in the day, once in a while, it's okay, you
What
know.
what is your morning movement then? At
It depends.
5:55 AM.
I start my morning very slow. So
Okay.
I'm very music driven. So I typically put some music on. I have a yoga mat right by my bed. So I kind of usually just move onto my mat and just try and do something. It's not.
How are you not scrolling on your phone?
I just
Do
honestly
you have a trick? Do you have a trick that you want to share with us? Because I
never
need
done
it.
it. I've never woke up and scrolled. So I guess the trick is don't
What?
start. So keep your phone away. Like
Yeah.
just
What do you
yeah.
use it as an alarm then?
I do I do use it as an alarm, but I
Okay.
guess maybe it's never been a habit
Yeah. So smart.
so I mean smart, I don't know if that's the right word. It's just you make it, you have I guess it's if I'm not saying I don't have any bad habits, Mercedes. Like I definitely
No, I'm learning. I want to like
you know
I
what I
love
mean? But
getting
it's
this
not the morning.
information. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's
Yeah.
not the morning. Mornings, it's it's peaceful, it's calm, and again, depending if it's summer or winter, I mean,
Yeah.
I often get up and try and find waves and try and surf. Like I wouldn't,
Okay.
I'm. This is a whole new kind of space for me living out
Yeah.
on the water, but
Yeah.
I think even I
Cool.
think
Very
yeah,
cool.
honestly, I think the biggest thing, if I can, share with you or anyone that's listening, and is just being consistent in doing something that you enjoy doing. So if you
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I know, especially, I mean, unless you're trying to go to the Olympics, then do what your
That's
coaches
different. That's
say.
different.
That's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in your off season, you can have some flexibility. But
Yeah.
yeah, just be consistent in the time that you dedicate to yourself, but be
Yeah.
flexible into what you do. So because we often will be like, well, I have to go to the gym today at 3 o'clock because that's what I said I would do. It's like,
Yeah.
but if you don't want to be there, it's not, it may not actually give you the benefit. And if going for a walk or a bike ride or something else to move your body is makes more sense, or just put on some music and dancing,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's an
I
option
love
as well.
that.
So, yeah.
I love that. Okay, I want to touch on any mentors that you currently have.
I have a lot of mentors,
Yeah.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that I lean on for different things. I think that I think having a sounding board is really
Mhm.
important, and who your sounding board is can dictate how they may guide you, I guess, or the
Mhm.
advice that they give you. But uh, your former trainer is one of my mentors, Lucinda Jagger.
Oh yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
had her when I was 16. She was scary. She's nice
yeah.
now.
She was nice then too, but already mentioned that you didn't
I
want to
was
work
brat.
very hard.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also,
Yeah,
it's such a young age. Of course, everyone's hormones are going crazy. I was still
yeah,
in high school.
yeah.
I
You were
have a
young, yeah. So
I have a lot more empathy for kids that are going through different phases of their times and a lot more patience for them now.
right,
Yeah.
and I can't even imagine what that might be like right now. It just seems like a really tough time to be
Mhm.
young. But
Mhm. Yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, you were saying Lucinda,
yeah, I
amazing.
think Lucinda's a mentor for sure. She's gone through a lot in her life, a lot of
Mhm.
injuries as well, but also just a lot of she's really helpful when I'm trying to kind of make decisions in terms of the my career and how I show up as an advisor, and what I put my energy into, and I'm a growth seeker, so I really like to learn, and so making the decisions of what kind of direction. And so I think I actually lean on an old teammate of mine, Ryan Outred, as well. He's up in Whistler. He's a naturopath, and um, yeah, I think those are kind of my two kind of closest mentors at the moment.
Cool. How did you
Yeah.
find them? Like for I remember being like, I don't have mentors, they're just friends. But then you look back and you reflect and you're like, oh, actually, yeah, they totally were a mentor. And I just deemed them a friend. Like, how do you, what time of your life do you think you decipher mentor versus friend?
That's an interesting question.
I just came up with it because because now I'm older and I'm reflecting and I'm like, oh yeah, Roberta was like she's like my best friend family, but like
Yeah,
she took me under her wing. She did not have to.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like guided me. And so
totally.
I just think at in it when you're in it, you're like that's a good friend. So like for you with Lucinda, that's maybe an older friendship. Um, but then you say mentor. So what's the difference there?
Yeah, and maybe it's different for everyone, and I think often our mentors can turn into friends, or our friends will also mentor. But I do think that, like, when I was, and we talk a lot more about mentors kind of in the business world, or I feel like that's kind of a newer thing, and we often, even, I know, we get set up with mentors. Like, I'm mentoring some coaches right now through the UBC program, so I've got mentees, which is kind of crazy, but like, to think about that, I'm now helping guide others in their kind of career path. But I do think finding, the difference between a friend and maybe a mentor is someone that you look at how they kind of show up in their as a professional, and how it's not necessarily emulation. Like, I don't want to necessarily emulate what my mentors do, but that I can see that they the kind of their guiding light really resonates with me, or I value how they are in their profession.
Right.
If
And
that
it's
makes
cool.
sense.
And it's cool when mentors become friends/family, because
Totally.
they are going to be in your life forever because they're just that person, which I adore so much.
Yeah, it's totally. And I feel like I want to kind of, think more about this concept of friend versus mentor, for sure.
I
And
know.
like your Roberta was like, I had people in my life that helped guide me as well when I was younger, but they didn't necessarily feel like mentors. They felt like, just like, yeah.
Well, then again, that comes to our community of snowboarding, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
like Michelle
snowboarding
McBurney was
is
like a huge influence on me, but
right.
she
Yeah,
wasn't
but it's like
necessarily.
it's a different sport, I think, and we don't think about snowboarding in that way. I mean, I don't talk about snowboarding really that often, even though it's my life. Like, it's just who I am. But like,
Yeah.
the community that comes along with it, that we had when we grew up in it, I think doesn't go away. And I hope it stays with the next generation.
Yeah.
I know it can get challenging for some kids out there, but to the core, it should be like a good time with friends having fun.
Well, and I don't want to, like, derail too far, but I for my master's thesis, I
Mm.
really dove into, like, snowboarders. I did a lot of I interviewed some of our friends. A lot of
Mhm.
our I interviewed, and I narrowed it really quite narrow in terms of who I did my research on. But I one thing that came up in every single interview and every single conversation was community,
Mhm.
and how important that was for them. And a number of them had single moms. Another number of those athletes didn't have that, either father figure or a connection.
Right.
And they found it within the snowboard community. And I think community exists in every sport, for sure. It's not that
That's
we're
true.
this, unique snowflake of
Mhm.
sports, but at the same time, I do think that it's you kind of need a group, especially like if you're gonna go in the backcountry. You need people to go
Mhm.
with, and you rarely, yes, you can go up the hill by yourself, but it's a sport where you're kind of, I don't know, it's part of safety
Mhm.
is having the people around you, and even your teammates kind of become your community as well. I guess it's,
Totally.
yeah, yeah. Now I'm thinking
No,
more
it's
about it.
no, I love it, I love it. I wanna just give some takeaways. I At 16, having your first concussion, breaking your arm, having that realization that, like, that you found your community from the ski racers and you knew what was available in the sports system. I think that's, like, such a huge win for you. Like, huge win that now it's crazy to see it come full circle. Now you're out there giving the athletes the information that you had prior to any of us snowboarders. So kudos to you for all the hard work you're doing. And thank you for sharing all the injuries that you had. And I think my jaw dropped at one point when you were like, and then I fractured both your heels,
Yeah.
like all the injuries that you've had, and that again, the mentality of it's part of sport. And I think people do look at snowboarding. Well, I know people look at snowboarding as an extreme sport. It is an extreme sport, but when we're in it, we kind of are just like, yeah, let's get up and go again. I mean, it's not an afterthought. It's just the way it is. I really appreciate you sharing all your mentors. Lucinda, you threw out Karen Strong as well, who helped you early on. So you have an amazing group of people. You've set up an amazing life for yourself in your cute little cabin in Sault, British Columbia, Canada. Where can people find you online if they want to follow what you're doing or anything about Game Plan as well?
Yeah, and thank you so much for giving Game Plan a shout out. I know you've been you're an ally and a super user, so appreciate that. And I'm on LinkedIn. I think that's my kind of main platform where I share. Just Candice Drouin, and I'm also on Instagram. I'm starting to kind of share a little bit more of my myself as an advisor, as a athlete advisor, versus sharing my life. I guess I've kind of changed. Social media is so interesting, and but yeah, so Instagram, LinkedIn, or if you are a high level national team athlete, you can always find us at Game Plan, and we are around to help out. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure just to spend this time with you, and love your podcast. It's very refreshing. Very you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for dropping in. I mean, I get to learn more and potentially help my own personal life, but I know the listeners really enjoy getting these tidbits so that they can help themselves as well. So thank you to the listeners for dropping in. And Candice, thank you so much for dropping in.
Take care.
Thanks so much for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about Dropping In with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.